wait, shit, we're going live.
No, you would wait.
And of course he said,
it's like as soon as
it's live.
That's the first thing people hear.
That is great. I was like, you gave the whole warning. You know, I think you might have them hearing aids already locked in, girl.
It says it's live.
Yeah, we're live.
I don't see that it's live.
I see that it's live. It says live, and it's giving me a camera in the top left corner.
Well, yeah, but I'm looking at the YouTube I'm looking at it on YouTube. I don't see it on YouTube. Let's see if we can find somebody that's outside of it.
Where should I see it on YouTube?
Got you. We need somebody to go.
Hold on a second. Yeah, here.
Hang on, I got it.
If you go to our channel, you should be able to find it. But hold on a second.
I have a complete different third party do it.
Here, I'm shooting. I think it's that. The link that I sent to you earlier in the chat with Nicole, that's the link for our channel, and you should be able to go to that. I have it on a separate browser, so I'm trying to figure out why that's not going live.
We're live in this virtual event thing, and I need to see if it's actually showing. Could you go to the
oh, hold on a second. I might have to start the stream here.
I don't know. It's fine.
It's good. It says live.
Wasn't any meeting.
Unmute it.
For me. Just to make sure it was up and running, because on Greg's end it's showing that it wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, no. All right. I see it streaming on the YouTube channel there.
On the tube.
Right. Yeah.
Is that the only place it's streaming?
Yeah, just YouTube.
It should be the only place that we kind of focus on.
Like if you go to the event and you click it, like there's. Did you put the link in the event, Greg?
Yeah, it's in there twice actually, for both hands.
It is? Okay. Okay, cool. All right, that's all I need.
I can text you the link as well if you need it.
Okay, I love you. Okay, bye. Well, if you just waited a second.
Says we got one concurrent view.
I don't know if that is your background noise or my background noise.
Shouldn't be coming through anything on my end. I mean, my baby is getting a shower, and that's her favorite time. So, getting a bath.
That's mine. That's CJ's favorite time too. You'd think that boy's part fish.
Was he like Michael Phelps or something?
Yeah.
He got some felt to him. A little felt goes a long way.
He got that felt chest. You know what I'm saying? It's a dolphin chest.
No, he acts like a fish. He acts like a fish when I put him in the tub. He would literally lay on his body and like lay on his stomach in the tub, like with his head barely above the water, and he flops around like a fish out of water in the tub.
I am curious. Let's see. I'm actually going to do it on my phone. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, yeah. No, we're good. It shows up on there. We're Gucci.
Okay.
Just waiting for a couple people to pop on. We'll be good to go. All right. Build successfully.
Yeah, that's how you get there.
It's awesome. Well, pretty good for my first time. Didn't know what I was doing and just did it a few hours ago.
Well, that's half the battle. Figuring it out. Who's number 4? Oh, they wouldn't be on the stage. They're just going to be in the thingamabob. So
yeah, that is that your wife?
My wife? Her name's Sydney?
Yeah.
Then yeah, that's my wife.
Okay. I mean, I got to add her to the stage. She won.
No, she's doing mom stuff. I'm sure she would love to throw her sense in one of those things that are appropriate, but
yes.
He's really good.
Yeah, we could. We should have her on one time she wants.
I was just about to say, the next one we do, we need to.
Yeah, I think
I
it would
wanted
be.
To bring on. I wanted to bring on Keith. Keith's a real good guy to talk to about finances and buying cars and stuff like that. And I work with him in the industry. Very, very smart guy, super intelligent, and he's just got such a great attitude that if I could have one thing that I could pull off of that character to be that man. It's just always upbeat about everything, and it's just it's an infectious thing. Whenever you're working with somebody, it's like, man, this guy's just like, he's got that energy. Let's get this done. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's hard to come by. That brings an interesting idea to my brain, though, because Verna was kind of telling me that she just knocked out some car dealerships and they paid her very handsomely. And I'm like, car dealership people that I can get our service.
Yeah, I know quite a few of them around town.
Yeah, and it's like if you can set me up with that phone number, me and Verna will knock it out and put that up under you. And
I'm gonna be at my old dealership on Thursday because your girl's due for some brakes and an oil change. Well, I'm actually 900 miles overdue for an oil change.
Yeah,
fine.
It's like we got a couple people that are hopping on. We'll start here in a couple minutes.
I would have, like I said, Verna and Nicole can both do it. I know Verna creates the time for it, especially these
Greg,
days.
who do I need to talk to at the dealership to make that happen?
Owner or HR?
For what?
Neither of those things are going to be where I'm at tomorrow.
Yeah, no, they're in a hub in the Woodlands, if I'm not mistaken. Now,
really?
Yeah, they did. They centralized it. They did a lot of things like that were probably not good business practices, but hey, whatever. I don't own auto group, but I can certainly see when one's fixing it.
So what I'm hearing is when I go Thursday, I need to go talk to Richie.
I actually have a few of the people that I know that are higher ups over there still. I just, I would say probably because Joanna doesn't work there anymore. And she'd be a good person to talk to. But I've got contact information for a few people. I could get in there and find it. I can get the contact information.
All right. Well,
even if I've never worked there, I can find out who it is and I can get their phone number, their email, and I can find it.
All right. Well, I'll ask Charles and or Richie on Thursday, and then I will also call Brandon, and he's at the new Bayway Cadillac store, wherever that's at. And I will ask him because he's one of the managers there.
Joey's over there working.
The manager too can make it happen for us as well, because we got two ways we can do this, right? So there's the way you guys are familiar with the going through payroll, having that slot there and doing it directly out of there. That is one way and the best way to get it in there, because you don't have to think about it anymore and the team takes care of it. The other way is we actually don't need that at all. We can go directly to the individuals there. It would just be a self-pay versus a direct out of their check. So it's like, typically I just need to figure out who I need to talk to. 15 minutes, because the value is the value. I mean, they're car dealership people, and it's like I'm saying, hey, I cover divorce and child custody. That applies to 60% of your staff. All right,
absolutely.
That's just the fucking reality.
I mean, yeah, honestly, it does.
That's just the reality, and you don't have to pay for it. Okay, like it's a
stereotype, but I mean, it's true.
I mean, I did door-to-door sales, so I was like, I respect car salespeople. Are one of the few people that I'm like, all right, you kind of get it, but you don't really know what it's like to be out there in them streets. Okay, like car people get it, but go knock on somebody's door, waking up their 6-month-old baby, or get chased by rabid dogs and squirrels, because Texas is weird like that, and then tell me you know sales. Okay,
what part of town are you in where you're seeing rabid squirrels? Because these squirrels here will almost come up to you. Like CJ has been so.
Yeah, I feed them in my backyard.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm doing is I'm fattening up the squirrels, so when a hawk comes, it has a good meal.
There you go. Look at him doing what he's supposed to do for the environment.
No,
conscientious individual.
And then catch one and bring it over here so CJ can love on it, because that's all he wants. Like if we see a squirrel out in public, you would think this kid is part dog, because he goes crazy. He will literally chase them until they run up a tree and then stand there at the bottom of the tree going, "Mommy, squirrel, squirrel." I'm like, yeah, dude, there's a squirrel there. You made it run away. And he's like, oh, man. I'm like, well.
Okay, so do we want to?
It looks like it's 6:00, so we want to start off.
It's like, do we want to pivot immediately, or do we want to start and restart the broadcast?
No, we're good. I mean, we've got people already hopped on, and I'm looking at the analytics and everything, so we can start and more people hop on, and then interrupt us. There is the ability for people to chat and ask questions. Perfect. Amber, if you want to,
I'm on it.
To moderate that as well. If you're on the YouTube thing, if not, I mean, I can see it as well. I've got my screen set up and everything.
Cool.
So we can start off with a couple things. I guess I'm going to start with insurance, and then we'll kind of pivot to Ash, right?
Yeah, I think what will be helpful is for, just for the formatting's sake, is like we kind of have the intro, that rough intro, of our respective backgrounds and why we've decided to really collaborate on this, because I mean it's well needed. So I think that would be the start off there.
I think yeah.
So it's like I can start. You can start. I don't care.
Yeah, I'll start off and then I'll let you rock it. Obviously, the first and the last things are always the most important things. And then if Amber says something, you definitely need to get your notebook out, pay attention, write it down. She usually says something very important.
She's the most important person in this call.
That's serious. Make sure you got your notebooks. So I would say probably I'll start out with why I started doing this. I was in the car business for a long time. I was in IT before that. Those are two really good, very solid, like you got to have the same personality for both those industries. Not even close. But I had a knack for being able to find problems and solutions. Right. And so I used what I was strong with and moved it into all those different things that I did. Right. But I also had this thing where I hated seeing people getting their backside kicked in for certain things. So that's why I decided to move into the insurance industry, because I see people making such small mistakes. Okay. When you see people buying cars and you're like, man, this guy is doing the worst possible thing. And they think it's the right thing to do because everybody says that's what you should do. But that's generally why you're in a position where it's not a good position. For example, people don't want to do leases, and half the time that would get them out of a lot of the things. Like, it does all the things that they want it to do, but then because it's got a name on it that they've heard is a bad thing, and it's, yes, there are bad reasons why you don't want to do that, but it's called wielding the particular thing you're using as a weapon. And if you don't know how to use that weapon, it's going to be really, really hard for you to use it, right? So if I gave you a Gatling gun and you've never shot one, you probably would have a super hard time using it, right? Because it's probably not as easy. It's a little bit more complicated weapon, right? Yeah. But the same thing, if I gave you a BB gun and said, all right, I want you to go take those Afghans out over there on the and they got some heavy artillery, you're probably going to not make it, man. Probably not going to make it. Are you going to kill somebody with a BB gun? Maybe. Good luck with that. My money's on the other dudes.
For sure.
So I like to help educate people on things. I don't really spend a lot of time selling anything at all. Really, it's more about marketing and educating people. And when you do that, you help empower people to use not only do they get a great value of what they're buying and purchasing, but have something that has adequate coverage for what their needs are.
Right.
A big mistake that a lot of people make with, let's say, for example, health insurance, if you had 5 people in your family and 2 people were allergic to penicillin and everybody got the same sickness, would you all take penicillin? The answer is no, because 2 people are allergic to it. It would be really bad. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have coverage that is adequate for everybody in the family, right? So sometimes we have to break people apart and put them on different policies so that they have what their needs are. It's not car insurance. Car insurance is covering, pretty much the basic same things, right? It's not complicated. But your health is a whole lot more complicated. And when you lose your health, you can't buy it back. It's one of the few things that you can throw as much money as you want at it, but once it gets to a point where it's diminished, you no longer have it. So the stakes are a lot higher at what I do now. I have to be on. I have to know so many things. And I also need to understand the inner workings of all those things. So it's actually a lot of things for me to learn. I have over 900 policies, and that's just health.
That's wild. That's wild.
But that's not all I do, though.
Yeah.
I also do, life insurance, which that's preparing for, believe it or not, before you die. I've got and death. And then I've got annuities. I've got other kinds of insurances that people haven't ever heard of, GAP, specified disease. I have all these little things to kind of cover where there's lack of coverage, because the number 3 reason why you become bankrupt in the United States is from medical debt.
Yeah.
Most people, that'll come off your credit. It's like, that's for visiting the doctor, bro. It's $100. Like, yeah, of course it'll come off. I'm talking about the big stuff when really, truly life's ups and downs hits that down.
Right.
And when you get that customer that calls you and says, hey man, I got this huge check in the mail. What do I do with it? I just got diagnosed with blah, 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 blah. And you're like, well, do whatever you want with it. But I would suggest using it to get better, or pay some of the bills while you're recovering, because that's the thing. Like, you don't want to have that stress of money coming in or not being able to pay all your bills when you're in the middle of, just trying to recover. Statistically, you're going to be in a better position by being able to do that, because you're not worried about all this other stuff. You're like, my focus is just relaxing and trying to make sure that I'm better. And you're not putting extra stress on your family if it's you, the breadwinner of the house or something like that. So having that adequate, protection can really help you. And that's what we bring to the table too, is how can I find the way to get you more coverage and pay less? I've never heard a customer say, I want to pay more money.
Right.
I mean, I just don't hear that very often. In fact, in the 15 years of me selling anything, I think I've heard it like one time. So it's not a very common thing.
Right.
And when it comes to like things like life insurance, buying it when you're 60 is a lot more expensive and closes the doors for a lot of things. Even if you pay for it in your 30s, your 20s, you can finish paying for a permanent policy and have a plan set in place, and you can have multiple policies. So there's a reason why you want to do that. You can string together policies to get more coverage or more out of it and pay less. And then you have different parts of time, and you have different kinds of life insurance. You've got, term policy. You've got a whole life. You've got IULs. You've got final expense. There's living promises. There's all these different options, and they're there for different stages of your life. And we do things like, I'll call it the dynamic duo, and it's two policies that are strung together to give you close to $1 million of coverage for very little, probably about the same amount of money that you're paying for your work insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't realize that it's like, well, you can do certain things and put yourself in a position where even though like your work insurance owns your policy and they're the policy holder, they got a hand on your steering wheel while you're driving.
Mm-hmm.
You have something outside of work that allows you to empower yourself and you be the policy holder. And those are things that we teach people so that they have a good foundation and understanding of how and what to use their stuff for.
I'd like to,
if you try to get a life insurance policy and I protect you as best I can, what happens when you do that though, right, Ash? Like,
no, for sure. It's, and then that kind of, the empowerment piece that you spoke on was really why I wanted to interject, because it's like, that is kind of the foundation of why I do what I do. And my whole background is just to share a little bit about me. I currently own a strategic consulting firm and are partnered with a company that focuses on providing, accessible access to the legal system and identity theft epidemic. But my background was actually in the Army as an intelligence analyst. So I had a top secret security clearance, and the vast majority of people with my background tend to go CIA, FBI, DEA, because they'll call them alphabet soup letter agencies. But that wasn't for me. That's why I grew my freedom here and really focused on ways that I could be empowered by leveraging that skill set. So when I say intelligence analyst, people think, oh, it's just like spy or whatever. It's like I break down really complex information and make it clear in a way that makes sense and actionable. That's the biggest thing. For better or worse, I love the infantry, call them 11 bang bang. They do what it is that they do. No ifs, ands, or buts. Best military in the world, because those guys are out in the front kicking down the doors. But they have no eyes, have no clue where they're going without people that have my background to really look at the full data set. So when I apply that to how we're approaching life, because this whole webinar realistically is about leveraging wealth building tools. And I think we've all heard and we could agree that, your health is your wealth. Start off there. I know there are many people that'll trade any level of millions, billions, trillions to have better health. So having things set up in a preventative mindset, that's typically what I'm thinking about. What can we set up prior to being able to being in those situations where we need to leverage those types of things? So as I think about what it is that you guys bring to the table, this highlights one of the services that complements what it is that we were just spoke on the health insurance piece. And it's like, all right, well, if you have some people think they have the right type of health insurance, I'm certain, and they don't really know what they need. Similar to a penicillin anecdote on, you're not going to give the same solution to everyone. I think most people are kind of this intimidated, I'd say, about the system at large, because I mean, it's not a lot of positive things being said about the system. It's understood that we need to be able to interact with it, but what happens in situations like, you know, you have the perfect health policy, or so to speak, and decisions need to be made on your behalf, right? Well, this is where kind of the piece that we bring to the table, of making sure you have access to your healthcare power of attorney, because that's going to be something that really needs to be in place there. And I'd love, if possible, if you guys can kind of give me some examples that you may have seen in the industry where maybe they had the right policy, but a decision had to be made as a direct result of that particular document not being in place, or the will not being in place. So just as it pertains specifically to health insurance specifically.
So on the health insurance side of things, there are times where, you know, personally speaking, my dad died very suddenly of a stress-induced heart attack. He was very young, 52.
Oh, wow.
He just turned 52. And, you know, he always joked that he was going to retire at 55, and he would, you know, worry about life insurance and power of attorney and will and all of those things at that point in time. Fortunately, you know, he left us prior to that, you know, and on top of, you know, mourning the loss of a father and a husband for my mom and whatnot, there was a lot of financial things that you're kind of aware of, but you're not really aware of until you're in that moment. That people just don't talk about, whether it's because it's a sensitive subject or it's something that's viewed as taboo. It's just not something that's really discussed, and it brings up a lot of potential problems. Thankfully, my family has, you know, we've been in the town we've been in a very long time, and so we were able to make things work in that situation. But there's other situations where, let's say you're a single parent, mother, father, whatever, you have a couple kids, all of your kids are minors, but you're their custodial parent. You, let's say, get in a horrific car accident. You're in the hospital and you're on life support. Doctors don't think you're going to make it. I know someone who went through this. All of the children were minors, but they were next of kin. The oldest child, who was a minor at that point, then was being forced to make a decision with his and hers other minor siblings as to whether or not they were going to pull their parent off of life support.
That's wow. That's when we think about preventative actions that we can take. This is why we're having these kind of conversations, because there's one thing to not only be in that situation where your minor children have to make that type of decision for you, but, you know, worse still, for that type of decision to come up and they have a medical bill on the back end of it all because they didn't have the right type of insurance. So it's one of those things.
Or any insurance at all, because your health insurance and even your life insurance, those aren't for, your health insurance isn't for going to the doctor, because if it was, that would be the most expensive doctor bill ever. It's for all of the things that come after. Yeah, you pay your copay, but those copays add up. Those prescriptions add up. Those referrals to specialists, if you don't have a PPO plan, all of those things add up. And that's what puts people into debt. That's what gives medical, medical and health insurance bad raps, because people aren't taught what the system actually does and how to make it work for them. And the same can be said for life insurance. And I don't know if it's, a systematic thing where it's just quote unquote supposed to be that way, or if people just don't have that knowledge available. And, that's what the three of us are doing. We want everybody to have that knowledge and know the right way to use it now, and prepare yourself and, for future children or current children for the future. So nobody is in that position, because mourning the loss of someone while also having to deal with the financial side of things, decision-making things, that adds a whole other level of trying to grieve or trying to go through recovery or any of those things that it's just not talked about. It happens every day, but nobody wants to talk about it.
Absolutely. No, and I love that you highlighted that. And I do want to touch on life insurance specifically. And Greg, if you could open up with it. My question to you there is, a lot of times when people hear life insurance, they immediately think, oh, my job either gives it to me, too expensive, or I don't want to think about my death right now. Now, for those of us, because we're here talking about leveraging wealth building tools. One of the things that I found as I started learning how to do this and interacting with professionals such as yourself, of the various ways that, IULs and things of that nature can be leveraged to build wealth. Can you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things I want to touch on that. I think the first thing that I would like to touch on, I think probably one of the more important things that I would like to touch on are the words in the insurance. It says life. Okay, it doesn't say death insurance. It says life insurance. You can use your life insurance before you die. It is very possible to do that. That's actually specifically why that word is in there. It's there for a reason. And a lot of people don't understand some of the things that have come out with life insurance lately. They have, and I think a lot of it has to do with the older boomer generation. They say things based on information of when they were younger and the things that they've invested in, which is completely irrelevant information now because things have changed. And at that time, the policies that they were using weren't available to be used as they are now. So even things like you mentioned IUL is like the Swiss Army knife of life insurance policies. It does pretty much everything. It has a cash investment portion of it. It does have what's compound interest, which if you don't know what that is, you need to go read a lot about that. That is a very important thing to understand that. It is a calculation of accumulation of wealth that is very, very, very good. Something you want on your side. And being able to use things like living benefits. Most people, if I told them living benefits, they would look at me, I don't know what that is.
Right.
And that's something that you can use, and it's part of your life insurance so that you're critically injured. You have a chronic illness, okay? It's one of the few ways I know to get coverage for chronic illness. If you have a heart attack, well, sometimes a heart attack doesn't kill you the first time. But now you're diminished, you can't work anymore. What happens to now your insurance at work, because it's contingent on you being able to work? You think your job's just going to keep you around and you can't do anything? That's not going to work. That's, and you're bringing everybody else's insurance up too. That's no bueno. We sell group insurance, and group insurance is great, but there are things that you have to understand about putting policies in place in order to maximize your potential. If you know that you have certain health issues that may become available or throughout later in life, if you adequately prepare for it, you can make sure that you pay less money, and B, you're in a better position. I find ways around. You tell me what the problem is, and then I'll figure out how to solve it. And I'll spend the time to do that, even if it doesn't make me money. I'll find the way to do it, because at the end of the day, I'm here to service my customers, because sometimes I may not make money off of that directly. I get a customer.
So let me ask a question to that point. When I know that this is a thing, and everybody has different economic positions on where they are. I mean, truly, my belief is where you assign value. But to the point where people may think, well, I'm priced out of health insurance. I'm priced out of life insurance. I've got, I don't have two nickels to rub together right now. I can't think about what's going to happen tomorrow when my lights are going off in 2 hours. You know what I mean? What would you say to those people that approach?
I can find assistance.
I'm sorry.
I can find assistance.
Right. So it's like there's a will, there's a way type of thing, and it's really coming down to.
I don't know what quit is. That's a race from my dictionary. I'll figure a way around it.
I like that. I like that position. I'd argue as well, or rather add, that the costs you either pay in the front end or you're paying the back end. You're not avoiding the cost. And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, if I neglect health insurance or the various ways that life insurance can be leveraged, someone somewhere is going to pay for it, because I'm going to get older. I'm going to get sick statistically. Okay. My dad went his entire life, I've never seen my father sick, not once. And so he's working 2 and 3 jobs and working in, working and on commission level security. And then 3 years ago, he has a stroke. All right. And was not properly insured. Okay. Immediately unable to work, left side paralyzed, and his everything has been uprooted. And one of the reasons I'm passionate about what it is you guys do is because I was like, well, what if, my dad had been informed and educated properly by, what his real options were. Because it's not that he made a whole lot of money, but I knew that there's something that could have been done because, we could have had somebody there helping him with his hand right now.
And that's why it's really good to know somebody like me, because most agents are they've got 1 move, maybe 2, 5 moves, maybe. And that's about it, because they only want to have to learn a couple different things.
Right.
And they want to be really good at knowing that particular policy, which if you know one policy, you pretty much know most of them. I mean, they're pretty close to the same, although each one is stronger in certain areas. But I have so many of them that, and I know them. Any of my agents can come up to me and say, "Hey, I've got this customer that's got this particular problem. How do we solve it?" And I can just boom. They can wake me up after a drunken stupor, and I can figure it out. And I've developed a way for them to learn that now too. And so I brought that into that. That's where I'm trying to change the industry of, hey, I've got all the things so we can compare everything and try to figure something out. Because I hate to see somebody in a position, they're 23, they don't have health insurance, and not exactly working at the most lucrative job yet. I got cancer. What do I do?
Right.
Because cancer happens a lot. It's a lot, and it's been happening even more lately.
Like this, it's a sooner age range now than it used to be back in the day, right? Like what people perceive, oh, you're probably not at risk to cancer or need to do these types of exams until this age, and now it's like a decade earlier because things are changing where that's the case. Yeah.
Absolutely. And nowadays they can even go in and tell you if your cancer is genetic, or if it's something in your
one is.
Yes, all cancer is bad for you. They can go in and tell you if the cancer you have is something that's genetic that needs to be monitored for, your siblings, your aunts, things like that, or if it's just something, unfortunately, that happened, whether it be your environment, your lifestyle, things you partook in. It could be any of those things. But the problem I see is our ability to fix and solve and prevent these things from happening is light years above where we are with the knowledge on what our medical and life insurance can do for us. Because like Greg was saying, we have everything. We even have plans that, you were talking about, I can't think about right now because my lights are going to get shut off.
Right.
I've been in that position.
I have a plan that I can put somebody on if they have religious problem with abortion.
Wow.
I've gone that far into it
to really cater it to the individual.
Every kind of, because I've had customers that asked for it. I went out to seek it. Now there are things that just don't exist.
Right.
And people ask for unicorn. I'm like, I don't have a unicorn, but I've got this cow that's got a unicorn horn taped to it. So I'm kind of the same thing.
We even have plans for, people in positions where, they don't feel like they can afford health insurance, or, no matter how many times and how many different waves we have explained to them that, we do have options that are going to fit your needs and your budget. They just don't want it. And that's okay. We're here to help where we can. We're here to inform you and give you all of the knowledge, but it's your decision to make in the end. But they don't want insurance, but they want to get their kids covered. We've acquired policies that we can write children only policies.
Yeah, that's actually really tough. Like there's almost very few of them out there, but I found a few of them.
And so correct me if I'm wrong. So basically what you guys have done is really navigated the system in a way where what you guys are essentially compensated on is because you guys have that knowledge and know how to properly partner the client with their needs, right? Because there's some people that think, oh, I can just Google it and chat GPT it, or, I can go ask my friend who clearly doesn't have a license. And what would you say to people that try to seek outside resources that aren't those in the field as a means to planning for their future legacy?
You're only going to get as credible knowledge as you seek out. you go try to find knowledge on the internet, a lot of it's going to be junk. And unless you're an expert in that field, you may have a particularly difficult time deciphering what's fact and fiction. There's a reason why we're licensed with the state, because we have the power to write a policy. And so in order for us to be able to explain it and make sure that we're properly doing what we're doing, we have to have a certain, criteria. I have to do background checks, fingerprints, and all that stuff with the state. If you got arrested one time in 1999 and you got out, you got to tell them that stuff. Like there's a lot to it. We're required to make sure that we're, upholding a certain standard. Some of us a little higher than others.
Right.
I always say my integrity is not for sale.
Right.
But I'm here to, I would say that if there's one thing about me, I care about people's own well-being more than that they do. A lot of times.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that. That is, that's powerful. I want to pivot because I saw something pretty phenomenal in the chat. We have Miss Sherry pointing out, she's on COBRA right now for a couple more months and she's going to need full coverage. And I don't know what any of that means. As you guys know, I'm not an insurance person. I understand the value of it. But for someone in her situation, which she's breaking down from what you can see there, what would you kind of recommend? And of course, that's probably, as you've already said, you guys really tailor it to the individual. So I doubt this platform would be the most efficient means in order to fill in all the gaps that I know that you guys would with her. But from an overall view of just even touching on what that looks like, because that's a specific customer profile, I would say, where she is and where she's transitioning.
With that particular thing, that's like the perfect one. I have like I have like 12 different policies I could think of off the top of my head right now that would be perfect for that.
Right.
I even have coverage for, let's say you came into the country and didn't ever pay into the system, your Medicare age, because nothing really covers you there. I have that policy too.
That says a lot, man. Because I'm son of an immigrant. My mom immigrated here when she was 20 from England. She's English Jamaican. So like there was a gap, of course, so that she wasn't really paying into that system. So what's available to her, even as someone that's been naturalized, married, my father, it just not as available. So I'm glad that you're sharing that specifically.
Because I'm first generation here, so I've got quite a few family members that have come over from South America. I'd also say, let's see, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna. I've got Aetna, and those are the top 3 networks and stuff that I would look at. And because I could probably cut that bill in half at least, and get the same coverage.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. One thing that I did want to kind of go back onto with because life insurance, because I know it's G-Rod Health Insurance, but the cool thing about you guys is you're a full brokerage that has access to every aspect. So you guys got auto, you guys got health, or at least you have connections where you can get those clients taken care of. It's a one-stop shop, right?
Yeah, and I know just about everybody you can think of that has. So if I don't have it, I know the top person is got.
You got homies. Yeah, it's that. So to that point, I wanted to highlight.
Yeah, I don't work with people unless they got the best stuff. They got to be on the same level as me.
That's kind of the way I look at it. That's that, and I share that belief. One of the reasons that I've partnered with Legal Shield, for example, because I've actually I'll tell you a situation right now that pertains to health insurance, and I'm helping one of my clients get resolved. She's an amputee, all right, which you guys already know that there's a whole lot that goes with that, from the insurance and so on and so forth.
I used to work for Mobility Works where they had the vans, man, and that was a fun job. Customers are phenomenal to work with.
Right,
love them.
She was in immense pain. She had an abscess growing on her leg and pop, and needed to get a different sleeve. And just because the size that she was, it wasn't super easy for her to do that. So she went to the doctor. The doctor's like, we really need to scoop off more of the leg and do the surgery that we do and get you a custom fit. And they submit it to insurance, and insurance says, well, how about we try these other solutions that we've never tried before for the next 6 to 9 months. And if that doesn't work out, then we'll go ahead and do it. And now when it comes to what you guys do, the best that you can do is the due diligence that you guys do there at G-Rod Health Insurance, which is making sure you're partnering them with the best products that are aligned with their needs. But when this insurance company just is simply not doing what could be done, this is where the complimentary service of Legal Shield comes into play, because she called me, of course, distraught, in pain. And I was like, hey, we've got access to attorneys by using a similar insurance model where you're not paying, $300 an hour to have this conversation. get your doctor on the phone with the insurance, with the attorney, and then push that up out there. So what ended up happening was, as a direct result of both the doctor who stood by the recommendation, which is, hey, this needs to happen right now for the patient, and the patient saying, I'm in pain, I need this right now, and the attorney saying, well, why are you playing with this individual in this particular way? We've got things shifted where now those things are able to happen. So it's like it's a full service type of idea, because it's like, whenever I think anyone gets a new health insurance plan, you can sit there and, Greg, you were super duper eloquent, and Amber's like, Mrs. Speaky Speak. I mean, Mrs. Mock has nothing to talk about, nothing to play with when it comes to really breaking down how it works. But when you guys have as many clients and whatnot as you may have, you can't always spend that time revisiting this particular aspect of the policy. So being able to send that up over to the attorneys where they're able to review that and break down, hey, these are the things you need to focus on right now, shows and reiterates that you guys really stand and represent for the client, not the big agencies. So that's been one of the things that I wanted to share regarding that, because it's just, all of this kind of works in tandem. It's like you can have the insurances, but like, for example, if your will isn't set up, which is something that we actually take care on there as well. And that's something that happened to my family. My grandfather tried to leave my dad health insurance. And it's always difficult to talk about, because, my granddad and my dad didn't have the best relationships. I was very fortunate to be raised with my dad. My dad does not get to say the same thing. But he tried to, on his way out, leave him in a life insurance policy and take care of his needs in that particular way. And the caretaker stole it, because in spite of the fact that my father was listed as the beneficiary, because there was no will, it was much easier for her to not only access those benefits with the level of access she had to him, just being the caretaker, and manipulate things in a way where now she's gone in the ether and that can't ever happen. So the insurance agent that took care of my grandfather, in encouraging him to leave something and do something, he did his job 100% of the way. I have no beef with him, but we can't plan against the unscrupulous individuals that are constantly trying to look for a way to get over on someone. So I'm curious, in your experience and your tenure in the field, how often has, either access to a will or a trust or a healthcare power of attorney been a factor in what it is you've got going on?
Every life insurance policy that we do, if you don't have a will and you haven't updated it, and even your health insurance, because your health insurance as well, you list people as a beneficiary on there, because there are monies that get paid out. Anytime there's money that gets paid out, you want to make sure you properly carry it. It's like, if I were to ask you a question of, hey, would you go out and take $10,000 and stick it on your front lawn and leave it there the whole time for your whole life? Would you do that? Well, no, you wouldn't do that, because that sounds stupid. Somebody would just walk by and take it, right? Well, that's what you're doing whenever you do not try to get a will or trust set up with, all these other things, because those are assets that you have. People have a hard time understanding that they have an asset when they have an asset.
I agree. And that's kind of what we wanted to educate on, is the preservation of the assets. So it's like, yes, preserve your health, preserve your wealth, and you can set up different things to ensure your family is better off. But if you're not informed, and again, I'm a stickler for quality information. I'm an intel analyst. If it's not good intel, I need to vet it. It needs to be actionable. And there's oftentimes that, we think because we're in the age of information, as we're being listed as, that means you have the right information. And it's like, if anything, there's more information out there. No ifs, ands, or buts. This isn't the 1800s where, literacy rates are pretty low and most people don't have access to it. We have way too much information. So now it's what's right. It's kind of like dating. You don't know what's right for you until you go out there a couple of times, and then you start talking to people and learning things.
Yep. Yeah. I see it happen all the time, and I hear a lot of times people saying stuff. They're like, "Well, I don't want to get a will because I don't want the government involved." I'm like, that's the exact opposite of what that does. It keeps the government out of it. And a lot of times people don't understand that if you do perish, and you're the caregiver of your child, that they are, they can be put into, the system while they're waiting to figure out legally who they're supposed to go to.
Oh my God. I've got two members that are dealing with that right now, actually. And one of the things I'll state with that is people like you said, people don't want to do the will because, they don't want the government in their business. There's a misunderstanding that the government's not already in your business, in the sense that when you die, there is a directive of what's happened. It's just defaulted to what the government said. Now I'm pro-military and I wore that uniform and I'd wear it again if I didn't know better, but I don't necessarily trust the government to do what's in my family's best interest. That's just a personal belief. That's not to be treasonous or anything like that. But, statistically, I've watched how they handle money. and I'm not too excited about it. Okay. So with that being the case, I think with enough information, I'm much more informed, especially when partnering with experts like you guys, to make a better decision what's right for me and my family, because I'm going to evaluate where I want to be, what I expect. Like, I currently have a $1 million life insurance policy, which I, wish to make, improve upon. And then first thing I did is wrap it up in the will. As soon as I got my health insurance, the first thing I got is to set up there so I can know when I'm going, what are really my rights? Because it's one thing to have these types of assets, but to not know how to leverage them, essentially, you don't have them.
That's
it. Go ahead, Amber.
Sorry. There's other things that go in with that. So you're talking about the will and the trust and those things, and all of those things are so important to get what you're wanting to happen when you're no longer here to advocate for yourself or your family. But isn't there is there something in the case of, is there something that Legal Shield can do in the event of, there's a parent passing, and let's say, they're a primary parent and there's a custody agreement and all of these things are in place. Is there something that y'all offer that can also help ensure that custody agreement is still somewhat in place after people are gone? Or
absolutely, that actually gives me
minor things that people don't think about until, unfortunately it's too late, and you don't know until you know.
No, and that is super. So I actually got a quick little PDF I'm going to share briefly that kind of goes over like some of the high level things, really talking about what Legal Shield kind of is and how that works. Can you guys see the screen? Because if you guys can, everyone else can.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I think I got to share it. I added to the stage. There you go. Bam. Here you go.
Perfect. So just to give some context, Legal Shield is not a new company. This isn't something new. They've been around since 1972. One of my favorite things about the story of how they founded, I'm big on working with owners that move from not just how much money they're going to make, but from the actual mission. So it started from a car accident, ironically enough. The owner was a former insurance agent and a teacher. The problem was he ended up in the hospital because of the car accident. And the cop actually gave the citation to the woman that hit him. But what he didn't anticipate, even though he had health insurance to take care of the health bills, he had life insurance, had worst case scenario happen, he didn't anticipate a lawsuit that fast forward and then just for inflation cost him about $70,000 to fight off and win. So his whole process there was like, this isn't fair. There needs to be some sort of system similar to what we do with the insurance industry that protects us from legal lawsuits. Because as one side of it is bankruptcy is a third, with like 66%, I believe, responsible for medical related things. The other portion of it, 46% of businesses go out of business because of a lawsuit. And other people have these types of similar things. So what they do here is leverage similar to the insurance industry at a group buying power where, the reason that I don't need to spend $250,000 for, a heart transplant, which I think is probably low based off what the real numbers are, I'm just throwing it out there, is because I have some type of insurance that cuts that down. So there's 3 different types of plans that they promote. So like the basic legal plan is just going to be you and a spouse, and you'll have access to your living will preparation, durable power of attorney, and unlimited e-signatures. But like being able to have those documents reviewed. The most popular one that we deal with, honestly, is going to be this preferred legal plan, where you have access to those things and anything regarding domestic, dealing with your kids, giving them access. So it's like when this covers up to mom, or not mom, but it covers both domestic partners and up to 10 children. So in that situation that you highlighted earlier, Amber, where the minors were forced to make a decision that they shouldn't have been able to make, at the very least, they would have been able to actually contact the attorney and get some guidance and get some things on that and that type of thing. So each one of these, and this is just kind of like an overview to kind of explain. I'm trying to scroll down, but it seems that this particular platform is not cooperating with me the way that I would like. But we have definitely systems for that. The way I like you to think about it is like when you have health insurance, you don't ask, can I go to the doctor? You ask, okay, where are they going to point me? When you have Legal Shield, it's not, do I have access to attorneys? It's like, which one do I need to speak with? So it doesn't matter if it's a healthcare attorney, if it's a contract attorney, if it's a business attorney, if it's a consumer attorney, like just give you a separate idea. Like I recently had to file an auto insurance claim as a direct result of a deer, what I would say, suicide bombing my car. Popped up out of nowhere. I halfway blamed my wife because I was traveling for work too long, and I'm convinced she sent the deer to come get me and make me come home. But to that point, the insurance company did not want to pay the claim at all, because I just moved to that insurance company. They only got one payment out of me, and all of my stuff was legitimate. After about a month and a half, almost 2 months of going back and forth with them, they completely denied my claim because I had access to attorneys. When I submitted the information, let them read over my policy, they sent a letter on my behalf that changed things from me owing $22,000, because that's how much was left on my car, or paying $600 a month for a car I couldn't drive, or letting it hit my credit report, to them paying me $22,000 to liquidate that just as a result of that. Yeah.
When your car gets totaled out, there is no more making payments. It's one lump sum.
You know that. We know that. The reality was the lien holder was still coming at me, okay? Because they're like, hey, well, you've got this loan. You signed on this contract to say you're going to pay X, Y, and Z, and it wasn't contingent on whether or not you could drive it, because we don't know what you're going to do with it. So it's a matter of having the right type of information. So when I realized that simply having access to an attorney has saved me literally $20,000, it's like, oh, I can't afford not to have access to this. So when I got that, plus my will updated, and the identity theft related things that we touch on, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer that these things go hand in hand, because the worst thing in the world about developing your wealth and having access to wealth legacies is if someone steals everything. So a lot of times people touch on like, all right, well, my bank watches my bank cards, so, I'm not too worried about that. But the way I position it is always explaining that identity theft is the number one crime for the past 17 years, as reported by the FTC. However, financial fraud only accounts for 27% of identity theft. That means there's a whole 73% in which we are vulnerable, and why these numbers are as high as they are, because we don't have the locks for those doors. One of the ways that we differentiate ourselves from some other companies that may simply just watch your things, it's kind of like having somebody like Greg in your corner that knows inside and out the insurance industry and going to handle it for you. So we have licensed private investigators that go do that for you. That's all included in that. So it's kind of like get the structure, the shield, so to speak. So in closing, Greg, I would love for you to kind of wrap up and touch on some high-level points that we kind of touched on for the seminar, this little briefing. And I've been really enjoyable to touch with you guys. And Amber, if you got any of your special nuggets that you drop in there, the bomb dropper over there, I would love that. And then we can
everything that Amber said was so important. So important.
Oh, God, yes.
I mean, I think my signing off piece would probably be, everybody either has or heard the term of gap insurance. And when you hear that word, you think, okay, for my car. Essentially, gap insurance, we have something very, very similar in the health insurance world. We can help you cover those gaps. From my understanding and what I'm hearing, Legal Shield is offering the same thing, but on the other aspect, covering it all. Y'all protect our identity, not only our identities, but our kids' identities, because is it not true that most identity theft happens for minors and it's not caught until several years later? Because have you ever pulled your child's social? Have you ever seen what their credit score is?
Well, and even a step further, one of the stories that I have is that someone actually.
Mine's better than my kid's credit's awesome.
Like, we have people stealing people's insurance and going to get surgeries.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, who knows where to search for insurance? Like, who stole my insurance? You don't know where to look for that. You don't know who has access to your policy.
But that's where Legal Shield comes in, and you just ring them up and say, hey, this is going on. And it's like that bulldog, and they're like, all right, we got it. And they take it over.
Absolutely.
That's I guess my leaving piece is that everybody's at least familiar with the term of gap insurance for your car. Why would you not have something that is affordable that can do that for every other aspect of your life, not just your car, which is a depreciating asset?
It's not an asset; it's a liability.
Definitely a liability. And it's fair. I love that sign off, Amber, and I'm gonna let you wrap it up, Mr. Rodriguez. All right, man with the kingly beard.
Yes. Nice to say, Amber. Definitely, kind of want to touch on it a little bit as well. That gap insurance actually kind of shines for people with their work insurance because it covers.
Absolutely.
You might be able to get better insurance policy through your work insurance because of that policy. it might be worth the $30 that you spend, and it saves you hundreds of dollars a month, possibly thousands of dollars in the year. And that's things that we find ways to overcome, life's problems that they throw at you. You can't cover everything. I can cover most of it. I'd say about 98% of your backside. And there's, I'm not a miracle worker, but I'm the person you want on your side for that stuff. And, trying to help you figure out, navigate through that stuff. And, the best thing that you got though, is you got somebody that's always there for you to kind of, either pick up the pieces and help you figure out what to do with it, or, avoid being put into that position. Don't you let your pride figure that stuff out for you later down the line. It'll be fine. Definitely, hopefully we can do another one of these here in the next couple of weeks. We're planning on doing that as well. We'll have different topics, and we'll be bringing on probably some guest speakers as well, and different things that will help teach more things. Hopefully we can help educate, and that's what we're here for. If you have any questions, I did drop some stuff into the chat as far as ways to check out other things for us. Ash, if you want to drop in maybe a link or two for yourself, you can do that as well. That's all I got for the night.
Well, this has been phenomenal. Always enjoy sharing educational platforms with you both. I have an immense amount of respect for your professionalism, what you guys do for the industry, the impact that you make, the way your heart works. We need more of it. Guys, if you guys took something from this and were able to be like, oh man, I didn't think about it this type of way, share it with your friends, okay? Because this is really about the education piece, and we really want to make sure that we're doing our part and changing the world to be a way that we really want it to be. And I'm a firm believer in empowerment, and that leverage is access, and access is freedom. With that, I appreciate you guys genuinely, and let's do this again in the very near future.
Absolutely. It was great chit-chatting with y'all, and I'm hoping, somebody out there maybe, maybe some gears are turning, and I'm sure if you reach out, Ash, if you want to drop maybe your email or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I was looking for your blink card. I couldn't find it
in this thing, and I was like, I don't know how to type. I went to the comments and I was like, you don't know how to type, and I was like,
if you throw it in the private chat, I'll link it over.
Okay.
But if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you're unable to get in contact with Ash, reach out to the G-Red Health Insurance profile, and we will be happy to connect you with him, even if it's what you might think of as a dumb or silly question. There is no dumb or silly question out there, especially in terms of this, where there's just so much knowledge. Like Ash was saying, you're trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong, but also what's going to work best for you, your family, what your wants are, and your budget. And that's really what it comes down to. Is all three of us are here to help people have access to the knowledge that everybody should have access to. So
I love that. Well, with that, everybody, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here tonight, and I appreciate everybody that tuned in, and we'll get back together soon.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.